Hey YouTube, we're back with another episode of the Jargon Report. Let me fix this shirt real quick. That's just not very professional. Anyway, so we're back and we're going to take a step away from what's being covered in the media right now, and we're going to turn our attention to something that's not getting coverage. So about a week ago, let me look here. House Oversight Committee held about a 3.5-4 hour hearing on the 2020 census. Many of y'all have probably seen it already. You may have even filled it out and sent it in, either in paper copy or digitally online. Either way, it's very important to do that. Not only does it help garner financial aid to your district or area, it also, a lot of people don't realize, determines the number of electorates that you get in the presidential election for your district. It determines the number of House and Senate seats you get. Sorry, I think it's only one of those, House or Senate. I'll double check. I'll correct it with a little text blurb down here. Anyway, so it plays a lot into the election cycle. That's why it's so important, especially coming into an election year, to report that information properly. Now, I'm not saying answer every question, but it is important that they have an accurate count on the number of people in a political district. That way they know how to assign representation and electorates for the general election in November. So, that being said, the census is rolled down from some constitutional language, everybody says. I don't know the background, the history on that. I'm not going to pretend to. If I can do a quick 5-minute search and find any information, I'll put it down below. Anyway, historically, anybody that is residing in the U.S. is expected to complete the census. That could be somebody here, a foreigner here on a visa. That could be a naturalized citizen, or that could even be somebody that is here illegally. Now, it may not seem like a bad deal, because if they're here, and on some form, the infrastructure of the area that they live in has to account for those people living there. Fair enough. That's an easy enough concept to understand. However, what is not understood is the foreign immigrants and illegal immigrants that are here, that file census and return it and are counted. That affects the representation of the voting citizens of this country. So what that means is, take, for example, your larger cities, New York City Metroplex, Dallas, Houston, Chicago. Those are areas that probably have a higher population of foreign immigrants. I'm going to use that term from now on. Assume it includes legal and illegal. Anyway, those larger cities will have a larger population of foreign immigrants that will fill out the census. So, naturally, they're going to get a higher level of representation in the federal government, whether it's in the House or in the Electoral College. It's going to offset the reality of how many votes in that area actually get counted. So, all the history and the background's kind of out of the way now. So let's talk about this House hearing. So basically, President Trump is pushing a measure to add a question to the census about legal citizenship. Because I do know, I don't remember which amendment, but per the Constitution, you have to be an American citizen to vote in a general election. Therefore, why should any other representation count from that standpoint? Why should we count hundreds of thousands or even potentially 1 million people that are not residents of the U.S. in districting how those voting segments are broken up across the U.S.? Well, the fact of the matter is we shouldn't, because when we do, we'll use state of Texas, for example. They have a large Hispanic population, some legal, some illegal. Potentially, there are a high number of immigrants, non-naturalized. It's important to remember that. So, because of the high population of people in Dallas Metroplex, Houston Metroplex, it may slant more of their representatives or their electorate to weight that area and leave some of the outlying areas of the state that are a little less populated with effectively less weight in the vote, when they should have an equal share in the vote. That's the basis of the Electoral College, is to balance population density as it applies to the weight of a vote. So Trump is fighting to get this question on. I believe he actually wrote it into an executive order. And what that does will effectively remove some of the voting power from these major metroplexes across the U.S. that are typically held by a voting majority. They're considered to be Democrat or liberal. And it will lessen some of their power there and put it back over to the conservative or the Republican side. So coming into this year's election, we've got what I would consider 3 substantial candidates. We've got Joe Biden. Obviously, President Trump is running for re-election, and Joe Jorgensen, the third-party candidate. So, if we look at the basis of the candidates, and I'm going to try to do this without revealing my choice for the candidate. I haven't decided yet. I am leaning one direction, but I'm going to try to be non-biased in this. So we'll start with President Trump. He's already in the White House. He's brash. He's very abrupt. He's very in your face, and he challenges the security of Washington. No other way to say it. I don't agree with all of his policies. I think some of them are foolish. I think some of the things he does are foolish, but it is undeniable he challenges the security of lifetime politicians. No other way to say it. Joe Biden, I can't help but laugh at the guy, and I shouldn't, because it's actually kind of sad. The man can't finish a cognitive sentence or thought. It seems like every time I watch him on TV, everybody applauds the message that he makes. But if you rewatch the video, there is no message. I watched him ramble on for 20 minutes on a morning news channel a month or so ago. He was effectively supposed to be making an apology for telling a black man that he wasn't black. And at the end of it, not only did he not make an apology, he didn't even talk about it. So anyway, yeah, he's equally a joke as Trump when it comes to being a politician. And then you've got Jorgensen. Reality of her getting elected is probably low, just because she's not one of the major two parties. She is third-party candidate. People are starting to recognize her. However, there's no telling how many of the 328 million people in the U.S., if enough of those people recognize her to make a difference. So anyway, basically what it comes down to, sorry, kind of got off track. Right now, I believe that of Biden and Trump, the only way Biden has a path to election is by counting non-citizens in the census, because that effectively boosts those high electorate vote holding districts and gives them even more weight in the election and takes it away from the smaller areas that typically make up the Republican vote. It's all kind of a shady game. There's been a lot of talk about rigging elections and if it's going to be rigged and who's rigging it and who has their hands in Russia and China and all this other stuff, mail-in voting. When it comes down to it, the reality of the situation is the easiest way to rig the election is to weight the census. If you do that, it doesn't matter what anybody else does, because the way votes are going to be counted is by the weight of the districts according to the census. So I challenge you, pay attention to other things than what is just going on in the media. Pay attention to things other than the Black Lives Matter movement, the pedophile movement, the COVID-19 news, the latest Anthony Fauci statement on do we wear masks, do we not wear masks. Pay attention to other things. Pay attention to the things that are going on behind the scenes that the media doesn't want you to know about. They're trying to build a house of cards right now. And if you haven't seen the previous video about media, marketing, psychology, and sociology, I'll put a link to it up here. Go check it out. It explains in depth the concepts that I'm talking about. But I challenge you, there's plenty of outlets to do it. You've got C-SPAN, Reuters. I think the House of Representatives even has their own YouTube channel to watch some of the House hearings that are going on right now and listen. When you don't even really need to watch them, just put them on the background and listen to them and listen to some of the arguments that are being made. And it will paint a very clear picture of what's going on. America, Washington's trying to pull over your eyes. That's all there is to say about it. The Democrat Party realizes they don't stand a chance in getting Biden elected, even with his newly announced running mate. I don't even remember her name. She's from California. Goodness. I'll put her name down here. Anyway, even with her, he doesn't stand a chance unless there's some kind of, I don't want to say trickery or foolery, but that's effectively what it is. You're slanting the table. I mean, it's like getting a tilt and pinball. You're slanting it in your favor. So remember that. As always, don't trust a word I say. Question every single bit of it. Do your own independent research and pay attention to what the government's doing right now. They're playing the Kansas City Shuffle. You're watching over there, and they're robbing you blind on this side. Anyway, stay diligent, America, and have a wonderful night.